What up, everybody, and welcome to thebeatmajors.net. Today we're gonna talk about how to make your snare stand out more in your mix. Now I know a lot of people, for the advanced users, you probably know some of this, but this is just a technique for people who are learning or want to know how to mix and make their beats sound better. So basically, what you want to do is you always want to start off with sounds that are already high quality, sounds that already sound good, as this snare right here. So that snare sounds good, has a little resonance on it that we're kind of gonna fade out. But basically, again, you just want to start with good quality sounds, because if you start with dull sounds, chances are you're gonna make it sound just slightly better, but it's still kind of gonna be a little dull and a little low in your mix. And you want the snares to stand out. So this snare here, perfect, because it sounds kind of sick. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take that tail and we're gonna fade it a little bit. And I like to do this just again to tighten the snare up. Cut off the timing that the ending that it doesn't need. So now it doesn't resonate as much. What we're going to do is we're going to add this to a mixer track. And what we like to do is, I still use a lot of the legacy plugins in FL, like the first parametric EQ. And what I like to do is I like to use the preset snare drum enhance. Now, a lot of people may get mad at you or mad at me for this, because I'm telling you to use the presets. But when I tell you to use the presets, I don't tell you to stick with the presets. I tell you to tweak the presets. So we'll use the snare drum enhance preset. But what I like to do is, you see where the frequencies are, and you can kind of see what each frequency does also. So when you move this up and down, you kind of see that one there, that slider there, is moving this here. You see that? This one here is right in the middle there. Right in the middle there. And you see this one? That's pretty much that whole area. Okay? Then you have your low end. Now if I go back to the preset one more time, it's just to reset everything. Basically, you're looking at, we're at 300 hertz here. We're at 16K here, or I'm sorry, 1K here, 1600 hertz. 11K, and then we get into 16K. This was again 300 hertz, 1600 hertz, 11K hertz, and 16K hertz. Now K hertz, kilohertz, if you don't know the terminology, that's what that is. Anyways, so basically this is your low end, this is your mid low, this is your mid in this case mid high. And then you have your high end, your treble, basically. What I like to do is with this preset, I just like to kind of just, you can tell the difference from, now it kind of sounds like it's coming from a phone. When we don't want that effect. We don't want it to sound like it's coming from a phone. We want it to be as clear as possible. Now, what you want to do when you mess with these presets is you want to make sure that you are listening for the frequencies that you are changing. And that's a good way to learn different frequencies and learn what that number or that area actually means. So 16K here, as you can hear when I mess with it. That's more of the presence area. That just brings more of the presence out of the snare itself. It doesn't really do much. Like I said, it just makes it a little bit more clear in the high end area. Right here at 11K hertz, as you can hear when I mess with it. I like to keep it around that area, around 2.8, maybe between 2.8 and 3.3 decibel. Then if we go to 1600 hertz right here, that's where the phony effect is coming in at, because that's like the mid mid-range. So that's where you get your phone sound at, and you don't want too much of that. So I usually turn that down also, just slightly, not too much. And then here down here, the 300 hertz. As you see, when I was bringing it up, it kind of brought the not really the low end, but in that area, mid lows. It kind of made it a little bit, it made it hit harder a little bit in that area. And with that one, I just keep it usually where it's at. I usually don't mess with that one too much because the snare is already pretty thick. And then another thing that we like to do is, after we EQ it, we may do some other EQing, but just for this case, I just wanted to kind of show you guys the settings of that preset and just kind of how to tweak around that preset, because they already pretty much give you a nice rough draft of where to start from, and then you take it from there. The next thing we use is the Transient Master by Native Instruments. And once we insert the Transient Master, they have a preset called Punch. What the Punch does is it takes the attack of how quick it's compressing the snare, or how long it takes for the snare to actually hit. So now, as you see, as I was turning it up, you can see that it started hitting a little bit louder, but as I was turning it down, it wasn't really doing too much of the snare. It was bringing it down, and it's kind of affecting the way that it hits dead on. So you basically, I usually keep that where it's at. Also, this Transient Master kind of it's kind of like a limiter or a compressor. You just have your attack and your sustain knobs, and then you have a gain knob also. But it just acts as a like a limiter or a compressor. Two totally different things, but you can kind of achieve the same sound with either or. Then you have your sustain. Your sustain basically controls how much of the snare is being heard. So if I turn the sustain all the way up, it's compressing it massively, but it's making sure everything is loud. Now if I turn the sustain down, that basically is tightening up the snare. And then also, if you pay attention to our meter here, your snare is right at 0 where it needs to be. And I'm not gonna say that's where it needs to be in your final mix, but you want it to smack there so that okay, my snare is hitting where it needs to hit, and I have room to play with if need be. So that was just a small little tip on how to make your snare stand out a little bit better in your mix. Again, for you advanced users, you kind of already know this stuff, and everyone has their own way. So you're probably achieving this same goal a totally different way. But this is just one way that we achieve that goal with making our snare stand out and making them a little bit tighter while sustaining the characteristics of the actual snare. So again, I hope you guys got some value out of this video, and until next time, peace.